There is a saying that's your net work is your net worth. So when you move to a different country, it's basically just you, or if you're fortunate, you have your family or your friends. So you have to expand beyond that. You have to expand beyond your own ethnic group also, because there's a lot of jobs that are not published, right? So they're saying some statistics like only 30% are advertised in job ads or whatever. So there's this hidden market that you cannot tap into unless you have your network.
Hello and welcome to episode number 48 of the Emigrant Life podcast, where we share stories of people who left their country to chase a better life. And through these stories, you can find ideas, resources, and motivation to do the same. I'm Daniel DeBiasi, and in this episode, I had the pleasure to chat with Katrina, who moved from the Philippines to Canada. Katrina has been involved with no-profit organizations since she arrived in Canada. Volunteering helped her to meet new people and grow her network, which led her to a successful career. When last year the pandemic hit, the need for volunteers decreased. So Katrina started the blog CanadianImmigrantStory.com to help others moving and settle to Canada. In this episode, we talk about finding a job in Canada, and Katrina shares a lot of tips and resources on maximizing your chance to land a job once you get in the country. Even if you're not planning to move to Canada, her tips are still relevant for other countries, and her story on how she moved alone to Canada can prepare you for your immigrant's journey into a new country. Before moving to my conversation with Katrina, make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you like what we do, it would be great if you could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. And now, please enjoy my conversation with Katrina. Hi Katrina, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's my pleasure to be with you today.
Oh, thank you so much. And Katrina, where are you originally from?
I'm originally from the Philippines.
And where do you live now?
I live here in Surrey, which is a part of Metro Vancouver in Lower Mainland, British Columbia.
In Canada?
In Canada,
okay,
yes.
Perfect. So not far away from where I live.
Yes.
And what age did you leave the Philippines to move to Canada?
I arrived here in 2011, so I was in my early 30s.
Okay. And why did you decide to leave the Philippines?
Actually, it was a challenge myself because I took this master's in technology management program, and we always talked about globalization, competitiveness of nations and companies. So I thought to myself, I want to experience that. I want to see if I can compete in a global work environment. So I had myself assessed for different countries, and it's only Canada that qualified for. So okay. I feel that it's for me.
So how many countries did you apply for?
I just went to an agency to let me know what points I have and which countries I would qualify for. And this is UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. Mm-hmm. Most of the three countries at the time were looking for healthcare workers. And it's only really Canada where I passed.
And why didn't have enough points, or your skills were not, so the other countries were not looking for your kind of skills?
I think this your second option.
Mm-hmm.
Is the one that happened. So I have a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering and a master's in technology management. And at the time, what was popular was healthcare providers or service workers. So I didn't really have any points for that.
And so your idea to leave the Philippines to move to another country was just to challenge yourself and try something different. Is that right?
That's the main reason. But of course, the charm of living in another country, especially a beautiful, well-developed country like Canada, is something that attracted me also.
So your plan was just moving abroad, challenge yourself, and one day go back to the Philippines? Or was it just, no, I'm going to leave my country and I'm going to start a new life in a new country?
I knew at the time that it's going to be a permanent move. I didn't really have any specific reason, but maybe because of the environment that we had at the time, or even we're having right now, because Philippines is still in the process of industrializing and such. So I know that there will be more opportunities for me when I move to Canada.
And what made you stay in Canada? Was the only country you could go, or did it something that you felt like, okay, I think this place can be my new home?
I felt at home in Canada. And I feel that the lifestyle that I have now is something that's really fit for me. especially here in Metro Vancouver. It's a busy city, right? But it's not like you're struggling every day to go somewhere because the traffic is good. It's a beautiful country. There's nature right outside your doorstep, and there's so many things to do. So I feel that this is just the right level of being busy and
Mhm.
being active. But I also know that I have work life balance.
That's so for you, was it easy to just leave the Philippines and move to Canada, or there was hiccups or some challenges you have to face when you decide to leave the Philippines and move to Canada?
Oh, there was a lot of struggle during my first few months,
Mhm.
especially on building my career again. When you move to another country, you have to start from scratch, right? And I know that when I came here, I did a lot of preparation. I also had my bachelor's and my master's degree, but it doesn't seem to count, right? So aside from applying to so many jobs and getting rejection for breakfast, you also have your internal struggles, like you're doubting yourself, you're losing hope, you're losing your sense of identity. So it was a big struggle for me.
You're not the first one that says that, first of all, it's hard to find a job in Canada. It's not as easy as other countries because English is not your first language. We just discussed this in the previous episode that you have to kind of go backwards like a 7 or even 10 steps behind like your current career in your country just because your mother tongue is not English. You have to kind of like start way back in your career. It was that kind of like the experience that you had?
Yes. So I'm actually lucky that I was able to enter an industry that is at par with my background, but I had to take a job that is not at the level that I had when I left my own country.
Especially here in Canada, one of the requirements to have Canadian experience, but you can't build Canadian experience if you can't find a job. So it's always kind of this like a situation that you need experience, but you can't build experience because you can't find a job.
That is correct. I call it a chicken and egg situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there are ways that you can go about it, like volunteering or just going out in your community to look at other resources. But basically, companies will look at your Canadian experience, even if they don't say it.
Yeah, exactly. And living in the Philippines, what was the challenges actually to leave the Philippines? Was just as easy as to apply to a visa and get approved, or there were other steps that you have to take in order to move to Canada?
I went through an agency, so they supported me throughout my application. So it wasn't that hard for me, but I had to get my credentials all lined up, including IELTS language exam.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of like a visa did you apply for in Canada? Or actually, what kind of visa allowed you to move to Canada?
I had the permanent resident visa.
Oh, so you came already with a permanent residency?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when I came here, I was legally allowed to live and to work in Canada for as long as I could or in any capacity that I would want to.
So for the listener that they are not super familiar, so when you got the permanent residency, you can work for anybody, right?
Yes.
It's not, your visa is not attached to a specific company. Like when I got here, for example, I came here on a working holiday visa, so it was like a limited to 6 months. And then my first visa I got, my work permit was attached to the company, so I can only work for one company. But the good thing about when you come with a permanent residency, you can find any job you like, and that gives you more opportunity. And companies are more open to hire you because you can stay here for longer. Because I say that because I interview other people that came to Canada on a working holiday visa, and one of the struggles was the limited time they have on their visa. And that was one of my struggles and the struggles I heard from other people. So coming here from permanent residency was pretty good. It was a pretty good way to move to a new country.
Yes, I skipped all those few steps that you mentioned. There's no limitation as to what company I should be employed with or what province I should live with or live in. So I went directly to being able to work for anybody, for any industry.
And before you mentioned that you have bachelor degrees but didn't really count in Canada. Was that because it was like a different qualification that you need in Canada, or simply because, I don't know, it got it from a different country? What was the reason?
For engineering, you still have to challenge the exam and get yourself qualified. So there might be some gaps that you would have to fill to be able to be called a chemical engineer in Canada. So, as someone who is new here with limited resources, you wouldn't want to spend to go to school again and get those qualifications, right? So, you would want to hopefully work, even if it's in a different capacity.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's already expensive to a new country and start fresh if you have to go to school, and it's definitely more challenging.
Very expensive. Very
Exactly.
challenging.
Yeah. So how long did it take for you to find a job on the same level that you had back in the Philippines?
I would say that that is my second job already. So for me, the gap between landing in Canada and my first job was almost 6 months. And then it took me maybe a year to be able to get to the level that I am or I was when I was in the Philippines.
Were you still working on the same industry and were just like starting like a little bit behind, or a completely different industry?
It's the same industry. So my first job in Canada was for a food manufacturing company. And my second job is also with a food manufacturing company.
Oh, okay, perfect. So at least you landed in the same industry. You didn't have to go, I don't know, work as a bartender just to pay the bills.
Yeah. So I was very fortunate that way.
And I guess when you moved to Canada, your English level was already pretty good.
Fortunately for us in the Philippines, English is also an official language.
So you were fluent in English.
I was fluent in English, yes.
Okay, so that wasn't a challenge. It wasn't like a barrier that you have to overcome, even though still like a language barrier probably between Canada and Philippines, just because the way people talk and...
Yeah. So we spoke English, but most of it is book English, let's say, not conversational English the way that we have it here. So sometimes you'll go, what are they saying? And there are also some habits that are different from ours. For example, when they say, how are you in the Philippines, you would really reply, right?
yeah.
But here it's just a greeting. It's part of a greeting. So when they say, how are you? But then they're already running away. So I'm like, but you were asking me a question. Yeah, so it's not about the language, but maybe how they use the words in their daily lives.
Okay. Do you have any regrets about living in the Philippines?
Not at all. I have no regrets. But I listened to one of your previous podcasts with Ruri as your guest, and he said something that resonated with me. He said that for emigrants, their heart and their mind can be in two different places at the same time. So I don't really consider this as a regret, but it is something that is a reality for emigrants like us.
You're totally right. Yeah.
Yeah, especially in these times, right? So you would want to support your loved ones with the struggles that they might be having, but you know that you can't.
Yeah, because you are on the other side of the world.
Exactly.
Especially like now with COVID and restriction, flight restriction, all of that's even more challenging because we're going like through a already challenging time, and be on the other side of the world where maybe your relative, your family, it's a completely different country. It's been challenging the last year and a half.
Absolutely.
Because now you've been in Canada for 10 years now, right?
Yes, I'm about to celebrate my 10th year anniversary in September.
Oh, congratulations, 10 years almost.
Time flies, right?
Yeah. You're now like a Canadian citizen.
I am, yeah.
Did that make you feel any different? Because I interviewed Yadranka in the previous episode, and she said that now she travels around with the Canadian passport, and the way the people treated her is different. It's different because now she's Canadian. She's got a Canadian passport, and people look up, I don't know, her passport, and then now she's Canadian is different from the previous passport, which was from Bosnia. So people now see her differently. Did you have the similar experience?
Yes, that's a great advantage for us Canadian citizens, because coming from the Philippines, you would have to prove so many things to the consulate or the embassy that you're going back to your country, that you have enough funds and all. But now you just breeze through the airport, right? So I've been to different countries since I became a citizen. I've been to several countries in Europe and in Korea, South Korea, and it was so easy for me.
Yeah. And now, because you got a Canadian passport, now you probably can move and go to other countries where before you were not allowed to. Is that something maybe you're considering, or you say like, no, Canada is my home. I'm not looking to find, I don't know, other situation. I don't want to try other places.
Yes, it's not on my mind to move to other countries, I'm not saying it's a hard no. Who knows if there are opportunities, but I'm not actively searching.
Because that's one of the things I found in other people that I interviewed, that once you become an immigrant, you kind of never feel like 100% settled, always kind of looking to find your home or the place that you can call home. And sometimes people struggles to find that place because now you don't have your roots anymore. So you move to a new country, oh, maybe I'll try something different, and you try something different, and you still not feel 100% your home. And you still keep going until I don't even know if you one day will find the place that you can actually call home. But for you, that's actually pretty good that you moved to Canada, you moved to this country, that you found your place. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the life that I have built for myself here in Canada.
So we already spoke about challenges. Did you have any maybe other challenges that you wanted to discuss that you found like hard to overcome, and maybe you want to give the listener some advice, or like things, maybe the challenges that you were unexpecting that when you got here, you're like, I wasn't expecting this?
Well, I moved to Canada alone. So aside from all the struggles that immigrants go through, there is also this lack of support system. So there's really not a lot of people that you can talk to about your daily struggles because they have their own, right? Even if they've already settled here in Canada, they would be busy with their own life. And for you who's starting from zero in a new country and alone, having no friends, nobody to talk to is a really big struggle. I'm very fortunate that I had nonprofit organizations who helped me along my journey. There were several of them, like Skills Connects for Immigrant, Diversity, Success BC, and Dress for Success Vancouver, who helped me by giving me resources, helping update my life skills and my professional skills. But also, through these organizations, I have met people who I consider my network now.
Okay. Can you repeat the names of the organization for the listeners?
Yes, there's a program called Skills Connect for Immigrants, and then organizations like Diverse City.
Okay.
Then there is Success BC, and most importantly for me, Dress for Success Vancouver.
That's one of the things I like to talk about you, like a Dress for Success. But before going there, I want to just like touch a little bit more about finding friends, create your circle of friends, like, because that's one of the main things that makes you feel at home. It's not just the country and the beautiful landscape or whatever, it's the people that you connect with in a new country. Is that the way that you find new friends and you meet new people for like through this organization, or you use different other channels, and how did you find like people in Canada?
Yes, I found my friends mainly through these organizations because it's not just a one-time interaction. I was in workshops with these people, so I would see them regularly and build my connections with them throughout these meetings.
And the people that you met were like mainly Canadians or other immigrants?
They're a mix of people. So I'm fortunate to be able to meet people from all walks of life, from all cultures, and that's always fun, right? But what I also appreciate is that I learn from them from different perspectives that they have.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, because you meet people from all over the world that gives you, I don't know, insight of other culture, and also people from Canada, and give you the insight of the country you're building your life on.
Yeah, I find that very interesting.
Okay, perfect. And now moving to Dress for Success Vancouver. You are an ambassador, right, for Dress for Success. Do you want to tell to the listener what Dress for Success is and what does it mean to be an ambassador for them?
Dress for Success is a not-for-profit organization. It started in the States, but the first affiliate outside of the US was established here in Vancouver in 1999. Okay. So they help women to get back to work. So they have a lot of programs such as providing workplace appropriate or interview appropriate attire. We also have career center where people can ask HR practitioners to look at their resume and help them with their interview skills. We also have the professional women's group, which is now a 1-year program. And each month we have different topics that will help you update your life skills.
Okay.
The ambassador program is an additional program where They will choose several women to be on a leadership and communications development program. So, with that, we are trained to share our stories within the community to raise awareness on what Trust for Success Vancouver is, to get clients and maybe to raise funds. But most of all, it is for us to give hope, inspiration, and maybe positivity to the people who will listen to our stories.
Because I remember listening to another podcast, How I Built This by Guy Ross, and he was interviewing the founder of Dress for Success in the US. And this person created like a Dress for Success to help women just feel more confident. And that's what the name Dress for Success is, right? So there was just like giving them like a nice dress for women so they feel more confident to land a good job in the US. Is the same thing here in Canada?
Yes.
It works in a similar way?
It's the same thing. That is actually their flagship program, and that's how it started. So, if my memory serves me right, Nancy, who is the founder, was given a $5,000 inheritance by her grandpa. And the grandpa was saying that among those sea of people lining up for an interview, this person might potentially be hired, this not, this one will be. And she said, why? He mentioned the attire, not just because of the attire itself, but because of the confidence that it will give the wearer and the perception that the other person will get from your confidence. So, Trust for Success really started from a suiting program and then it developed from there.
Okay. And for maybe the female listeners, do you have any particular advice you want to give them to how to find a job, how to land a good job in Canada?
For me, it is important to first be prepared before your move. So, research the industry that you want to go to. And if there is something that you can already prepare before your move, then do it because it's very costly and time consuming here. And then, second, look for organizations that provide support for immigrants. There are a lot of them, and that is something that I'm thankful for here in Canada because in each city, there's always an organization that can help, maybe provide feedback on your resume or be able to provide free training for you or maybe be able to give you resources or actually lead you to a paid internship. So just do your research on those organizations. They are very helpful.
You can start doing the research when you're still living in your country, or you kind of need to be in Canada before you can start applying or ask for help to this organization?
There are some organizations that would help you even before you leave the country. I forgot the name of the program, but when I got my visa for Canada, I already received an invitation that is done through the Canadian Embassy, I think, and some organization in the Philippines. So it was a 2-day workshop, and then they looked at what are the potential jobs for me and what are the action items that I can do before leaving and as soon as I come here in Canada.
I think I got a similar email to say like, okay, you're on the process to get a PR. So they sent me an email to kind of like a package to get you ready to settle in Canada, something like that. I didn't really go through because I already had a job, but I think that's one of the steps they send you, like these steps before you can actually get your PR.
Yeah, I think it's very helpful. So with that, within my first few days here in Canada, I already got in touch with an immigrant serving organization. And then I was able to make plans to be able to apply to some workshops. And then from then on, it just blossomed. I was able to find more resources for me.
And did that help you to find a job, just to give you like the tools to find a job, or even just the connection to get into that company?
All for me. So they gave me workshops for updating our resume based on the Canadian standards. They also taught us how to network. They taught us how to do our interviews. But also, they would tell you if there are job fairs available or if they have industry connections, they would actually refer you to those people looking for employees.
That's pretty handy. Because I remember when I go here, I was looking for jobs, and I think I went through a program through the library, the Vancouver Library. I don't know if you're familiar, if you know anything, maybe it's something that you did as well. I think through the library, there was like this process going through your resume and how to find jobs out. Even like if you don't know what to do in your career, they give you like the path to decide what you want to do. There was like, this program that was like for free through the Vancouver Library.
I haven't been through those programs, but I've seen the ad. And also, I know that the libraries here in Canada are not just for books. They're not just for movies. Yeah, they have a lot of beautiful or helpful programs, I should say. So for those who are coming to Canada or who are already here, libraries are great resources for us, right?
Yeah, totally. And if you get like the card from the Vancouver Library, you can even get LinkedIn Learning for free, which is, I think, is about like a $35 a month. And if you got the Vancouver Library card, that's free. So even LinkedIn Learning to get all the qualification and through LinkedIn, which is a great platform to find jobs online, you can get that for free as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you for the tip.
Yeah,
I should check
worries.
it out.
I haven't tried in a while. Maybe I'm going to do some research and maybe put on the show notes for the people that are listening. And because I'm not 100% sure if it's still on, but that was until like a few months ago, you could get like LinkedIn Learning for free.
Yeah, but even if it's not on right now, you can do a lot of things from the comfort of your home with your Vancouver Library or any other library card, I should say.
Totally. And I wanted to talk about your story, like the way you left the Philippines. And do you want to share more about the Philippines, the things that we didn't discuss? How did you actually do it? How was it, the challenges and the things that you have to go through? From living even just leaving your family, leaving your friends and move to Canada. What was the situation? What was your experience?
Leaving the country was not very difficult for me just because when I was 12 years old, I studied in a different city. So this city is 8 hours away from my own home. So I was used to living alone from a very early age. And from then on, I lived in a dormitory since age 12 to, let's say, age 21. So I was basically ready for my move here in Canada, right? But I know that moving to a different country is different in the sense that it's not easy to get help. It's not easy to get support when I need it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different kind of struggle. For me, it was more on the day-to-day support. Right?
Okay.
Like you go home, you're all alone. You try to find work the entire day, but you weren't successful. So when you get home, it would be nice to be able to talk to someone about your struggles and at least have someone pat you on the back and say, okay, tomorrow's another day. But we don't get that, right? As emigrant. And that's the most difficult part. So for my move to Canada, as I've mentioned, I went through an agency. And the reason for this is that I know at the time that the rules are going to change. So the list for those jobs that are wanted in Canada will change very, very soon. So I had to do my paperwork on time and properly because there's not a lot of room for errors.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, after 14 months, I was able to get my permanent resident visa.
It took only 14 months to get to the whole process, or from the time you applied?
From the time that I went to the agency, I think, until I got my visa.
That was fairly quickly.
It was, because at the time they were trying to clear out all the backlog that they have for visa applications. So I was very fortunate. So I had a few months preparation before coming to Canada because I had to leave my previous job, and I landed here in September of 2011. It was, I think, the last day of summer where people were still wearing their summer clothes, but I was wearing long sleeves turtleneck and then a jean jacket over it because coming from a tropical country, that is cold.
Yeah.
So that was the first challenge for me, actually, the weather.
Yeah, because coming here in September in Vancouver, you get into the winter, which is almost always raining. It rains a lot here in Vancouver. So coming from a tropical country in September where the raining season is going to start can be depressive, can be depressing.
Oh, yeah, that is. Yeah. Because it's always dark, it's always gloomy, it's always raining. But back home, it's sunny. Every day is almost a sunny day. I actually know some people who get depressed when it's raining because it does rain a lot here in Vancouver. But I think that that is something that people would need to adjust to living in a forest like ours.
Yeah. I want to go back a little bit when you said that you were living in a different town from the age of 12. Why? Was just because that's to go to school, you had to go to a different city, or that's kind of like the norm in the Philippines? Because I'm not very familiar with the culture in the Philippines, so I apologize for that.
No, no problem. It was a special school, so we had to take two examinations for us to qualify for that school. But that school is sponsored by the Department of Science and Technology. So basically, all of the students in that school are scholars, and the curriculum for that school is advanced compared to the regular schools. So we had more focus on science and technology.
So you decided like a that field at 12 years old?
My parents decided for me because they thought that it was a good opportunity. So, because I was young, I was just a child, right? I knew in my mind that they were correct, but of course, I was sad, but I had to do it. I did it anyway.
And were your parents happy for you when you decided to leave the Philippines to move to Canada?
They were happy for me because they know that there will be more opportunities for me.
Was that one of the reasons why that they decided to send you to that specific school, that specific field, so that you can have more opportunity abroad?
Not specifically abroad, but because it was a special school and there's a scholarship, then they feel that it is a better choice for me.
Okay, and worked out quite well.
It did, yes. So I think it prepared me to for my move here in Canada.
And now that you've been in Canada for like 10 years, if you could make a phone call to your younger self, what would you say to her?
I have a go-to quote for this. Say yes to opportunities and the universe will conspire to make it happen. So I've never been afraid of changes, but of course, there are times when you doubt yourself, you doubt your capacity to overcome the challenges. But if you really put your heart and your mind to it, you will be able to overcome this and you will be rewarded with something great.
Absolutely agree. And is there anything that you would have done differently now that you know the process, you know how things work in Canada? Is there anything you would have done differently?
I would say I would try to be more active within the community. Not that I'm not active because I do a lot of volunteer work, but this is how you're going to expose yourself to Canada, to the various cultures, to the various people, cuisines. And Canada is a very diverse country, and you will be able to live a better life when you see the entire Canada or what it offers, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And do you have any particular advice do you want to give to the listeners, or any more advice you would like to give to the listeners that wants to move to Canada?
There is a saying that's your network is your net worth. So when you move to a different country, it's basically just you, or if you're fortunate, you have your family or your friends. So you have to expand beyond that. You have to expand beyond your own ethnic group also, because there's a lot of jobs that are not published, right? So they're saying some statistics like only 30% are advertised in job ads or whatever. So there's this hidden market that you cannot tap into unless you have your network.
And the way to build your network would be through organization, through any programs, or do you find any other solution, maybe like a Facebook groups or other way to get inside of the community? What's your way to grow your network?
For me, the biggest way is actually volunteering, because with this, they will know you as a person, right? And that's how you will be able to build trust, to be able to show your skills and your dedication. And this is something that you can actually put into your resume. But if that is something that you cannot do at the moment, then yeah, you're right. You can join groups in Facebook, you can join social media, or you can follow people, because I feel that right now there's a lot of people who share information through websites, through YouTube, through podcasts, through blogs, and you can actually talk to those people and interact with them.
Yeah. That's exactly how we get in touch. We go through Instagram. That's why usually I find people that were doing the same thing, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how we found each other. Because you also are trying to help other immigrants to get settled in Canada or to help other immigrants through your website. Do you want to tell the listeners more about what you do?
Yes, I have a new blog which is called CanadianImmigrantStory.com. And this is an offshoot of my volunteer work. I started it in November 2020 because that's actually when I officially graduated from the ambassador program of Trust for Success Vancouver. So now I'm just an official volunteer or ambassador. So prior to November 2020, I did a lot of in person volunteering for Trust for Success Vancouver and other organizations here in Metro Vancouver. And as mentioned in the ambassador program, we are asked to share our story to the community. But during COVID, I did not have any volunteer work, right? So I had to think of a project where I can safely still support other people and maybe give them inspiration. And that's how it happened. I created this blog.
Okay, perfect. And where can people find your blog?
So it's CanadianImmigrantStory.com.
Okay, perfect. And everything we discussed and everything, all the links and everything, as usual, is going to be in the show notes so people can find it easily. So is there any other way that people can get in touch with you if they relate with your story and wants to ask you more like a specific questions?
Yes, you can join me at my Facebook group, Facebook page, and my Instagram, Canadian Immigrant Story, or you can actually send me a note through the blog itself. I would really, really love to hear from you, so please get in touch with me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katrina, to find the time to share your story. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's nice meeting you, and it's really nice learning from you also.
Thank you. Yeah, and maybe one day we can just, when the COVID will be over, we'll be hopefully meet for a coffee or something. We're just not that far.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. You can find the link of all the resources we mentioned in this episode in the show notes by visiting emigrantslifecom/episode 48. If you enjoyed this episode and want to support the show, you can share this episode with your friends and you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at @emigrantslifec and Facebook at @emigrantslifec podcast. And one more thing, if you want to move to a new country and you need help, feel free to reach out to me either via email at daniel@emigrantslifec.com or through our website, emigrantslifec.com. I look forward to meeting you. Thanks again for listening. Talk to you in the next one. Ciao.